All right, guys, how's it going? I'm back with another video. This is going to be my week two recap of the NFL season. Sorry, coming out with this video pretty late. It's Thursday, start of week three. My team plays the Jets in prime time tonight. I've uh, I've just been super busy, slammed lately. I will try my best next week to try to get this video out by hopefully around Wednesday, maybe. Try my best. But I'll just dive straight in here. So, first game was last Thursday. We had Bills Dolphins. Couldn't have been more wrong about this game. I picked the Dolphins in this game, and I look like a friggin' idiot for it. They did not look good. Their second drive they tied it 7-7. They had a good drive. I'm like, okay, here we go. Their defense played pretty bad overall. James Cook torched them. He was on one of my fantasy teams, so that even though I lost, but thank you, James Cook. Bills offense looked pretty good. The run game was good. Um, yeah, obviously the big storyline, Tua got hurt. He's going to be out. He said he's not going to retire. He's going to at least be out. They put him on IR. I would assume, obviously at bare minimum, IR is 4 weeks, but I assume longer than that. They're in a Skylar Thompson. So that's gonna be rough. I think I saw they did sign Tyler Huntley though, who I think is better than Skylar Thompson. So it's probably only a matter of time till Tyler Huntley plays for the Dolphins there. But yeah, just not a good game for the Dolphins. Their Mike McDaniel, really weird play calling game for him. They were gashing them with the run, and then they just went away from it. Just pass, pass, pass. I understand they were down big, but they still could have ran the ball, and they just kind of went pass, pass, pass. The pretty pass heavy the rest of the game. Bills, again, I think I mentioned it, but their offense looked good. Josh Allen looked pretty good. I mean, they're putting up 31 points. And I know one of them was on a pick six, but Josh Allen hit 139 yards, completed 13 passes, only threw for one touchdown. They're putting up 31 points, 24 of that being offensively. Shakir, he could actually, it seems like he's going to have a good year. Good game this one, good game week one. Tua played horrible. Um, Obviously, I'm not a big Tua guy, never really been a big Tua fan, but hopefully he's okay. Not good. Hit a pick six. His first interception wasn't really his fault. That was just a miscommunication with the receiver there. Second pick was really bad. That was when I think, if I remember right, the Dolphins defense forced a punt, and Dolphins had the ball back, a chance to take the lead, and then Tua threw a really bad pick. Achane, I can't believe he had 22 carries. It seems like he had less than that. I think a lot of that came when Skylar Thompson got thrown in there. A lot of dump offs to Achane too. I had him on one of my fantasy teams that I won in, so yeah, he was their leading receiver. So it's typically a problem when your running back is your leading receiver. But not a good game for the Dolphins. They didn't play good week one either, though they were able to win against the Jags. Bills looking good, Dolphins not looking good. Could be a rough season for them. Probably will be. And the Bills are just a regular season machine. So couldn't have been more wrong about this one. But yeah, good game for the Bills, not a good game for the Dolphins there. Next game. Oh, this is another game I was wrong with. I was pretty confident with the 49ers in this one. I thought this was going to be the game where Sam Darnold kind of turned back into Sam Darnold. That did not happen. Sam Darnold looked really good. He had one pick to Fred Warner, but besides that, he had a couple really clutch throws. Obviously, there was that 97-yard bomb to Jefferson when he was working in his own end zone there. And the end of the game there, when Aaron Jones fumbled, the Niners went the whole length of the field and scored a touchdown to cut it to six. I'm like, the Vikings going to blow this game. It's a lot of what happened last season, it felt like. And just, I guess, their franchise's history pretty much. Um, but yeah, so Jones fell, Niners scored, and then all the pressure on Darnold. He drove down the field, got them a field goal. He had a really nice pass. I think he had, I want to say like two or three third down conversions. One of them, he threw it, fit it in the seam route between like three defenders. That was a really nice throw. Darnold played good. Purdy actually, now looking at this, statistically had a pretty good game, but something about Brian Flores and his defense and Purdy does not mesh well for the Niners. They did not. Purdy probably in his worst game of the year last year against the Vikings, and then this year or well, this year, but this past week, I guess, Purdy, they kind of struggled to move the ball. The Vikings outplayed them. I don't even look at yeah. Well, actually, if you look at this, it seems like pretty evenly matched, but it, I guess if you just look at this, it seems like evenly matched. Maybe the Niners outplayed them some categories, but to me, at least, the Vikings kind of outplayed them this whole game and had control. They should have been up three scores of Aaron Jones and fumble at the 1 yard line there. But yeah, Vikings were in control. I thought they were going to blow it. They didn't. Good for them. Niners defense played okay in this one, not as good as week one, obviously. But Purdy after the game said, signed to Brian Flores, said his scheme is crazy. So I've always liked Brian Flores because he's a New England fan. Yeah, just this game kind of surprised me. Just thought Donald was going to put up a shitter. He didn't. I felt good about the 49ers, and they didn't win. Good for the Vikings. Pretty good game. Not a great performance from the Niners, but yeah. So I didn't even let me look at the team stats. Going back to this game real quick. The like this is Tua's turnovers. This shows how bad Tua's turnovers were when they outgained them in yards, passing yards, and rushing yards. They more first. I mean, literally, the turnovers just completely screwed them here. That's a big takeaway from this one. Okay, getting back in order here. Oh boy, this game. Boy, did this game piss me off so much. We should have had this game. We should have had it. We should have had it. The Seahawks' first touchdown was blown coverage, so we gave that one to them with Metcalf there. And then the second touchdown was a bullshit flag for PI when Geno Smith threw the ball out of bounds. He threw the ball out the back of the end zone. They called PI. The ball is not catchable. And they called PI. So instead of getting 3, they got 7 out of it. And then the Rams Cardinals game, the end of the first half, Rams go for it on 4th and goal. Stafford throws it out of the end zone. They're going to call a PI, but they say, oh, it's not catchable. So they pick the flag up. Why couldn't they have done that for us? Like, really? But anyway, late in the game, defense played really. Geno Smith had a really efficient game, but our defense played really good in the second half. As soon as the Seahawks blocked our field goal, I had a bad feeling that we were going to lose the game. Had we gotten that field goal off, gone up 6, I think we win that game. Yes, the Seahawks drove right down the field after that, but they had a morale boost that they had just blocked the field goal, so obviously they're going to try to go score a touchdown to win the game. But they're thinking, well, at worst we can tie the game with a field goal. So they had that in their mind versus they absolutely had to score a touchdown. And we did stuff them on 3rd and 1, so it was 4th and 1. Obviously, if we were up 6, they would have had to go for. Obviously, it's a what if scenario. They would have called different plays. Maybe this would have happened differently. Who knows? And then in overtime, we get the ball. I'm like, thank God we can actually win this thing. And 3 and out, and we punt. I'm like, yep, here we go. And then they got another PI call on Jonathan Jones, where even Tyler Lockett said it wasn't a penalty. That's who the receiver was. They threw the flag on. Well, they threw it on Jones, but he was covering Lockett, I mean. Then that 3rd and 6, that pissed me off so much. We sent a forward blitz, and then what's a good way to counter the blitz? A screen pass. And so what are the fucking Seahawks run a screen pass? I'm like, of course. What are the chances? God, we should have had this game. We should have had this game. And then this is another thing. Run game was really good. Obviously we won week 1, but one thing I want us to improve on was getting our receivers involved. Hunter Henry had a great game, great first half, over 100 receiving yards. Polk had a touchdown. We were pretty balanced offense in the first half. Second half, I think we passed for 33 yards. Like, really? 33 yards? Like, come on, dude. We got to get our playmakers more involved. Pop Douglas, I think, only has 2 catches on the year. So, that's a problem. He was a stud for us last year, as god awful as our offense was. But we should have had this game. We should have had this game. Gino played well. Really efficient game from him. So get the stats here. You see, obviously, this is the big difference maker right here. 312 to 125 passing yards. But like, look, we gashed them in the run game. They didn't even have 50 rush yards. Yes, Kenneth Walker was out, but still. Um, third down efficiency, not too great for us. Um, See, this is a pretty evenly matched game, and I just hate losing. I hate losing games. Yes, I know the Patriots, my team, is not expected to be good this year, or are not expected to be good this year, I mean. But I always have belief in my team. I'm going to root for us to win every game. Like last year, when we were out of the playoffs, I didn't care. I was rooting for us to win every game, just like we were in playoff contention. The games actually matter. I just hate losing, hate when my teams lose. It ruins my day, especially games like this, close losses where we kind of should have won it. So this game really pissed me off, honestly. Except I'm optimistic about tonight against the Jets, though. Seahawks, really good team, really good defense. Offense is clicking in gear. They play the Dolphins this week, so that should be a win for them. So they should get off to a nice 3-0 start. But that game really pissed me off. Oh, here's another game that pissed me. So yeah, I'm 0 for 4 so far these games with my picks. This is another game that pissed me off. Picked the Giants to upset the Commanders. Giants outplayed them, should have won the game. And what was the difference in this game? The Giants kicker, Graham Gano, got hurt in pre-game warm-ups. What are the chances that happens? Like, really? Like I think it was his hamstring. I think his hammy must have just realized I picked the Giants to upset them. Just, let's blow out the hammy on this one, I guess. Giants, oh my God, they should have won this game. They scored 3 touchdowns. They had to go for 3 times. They didn't get any of them. And then they had their first touchdown, they kicked an extra point, and with their punter, Jamie Gillen, and he missed it. So that right there is 4 points worth of kicks they would have had, assuming Gano makes the PATs. So that's 4 points right there. So that should have put them at 22 points alone. And then at the end of the game there, when they had to go for one on fourth down, Neighbors wide open, he dropped it. That would have set them up at the goal line. The Neighbors just dropped it. So many missed opportunities for the Giants in this one. This game. So if you look at this, though, it looks like the Commanders' offense, we actually had a pretty good day. They got the run game going. Jaden Daniels looked good passing. Danny Dimes actually played good. Singletary looked good in this one. But Daniels, a lot more efficient passing. Brian Robinson Jr., really good running game. Caught Austin Ekeler. Oh, boy. I remember when Austin Ekeler was, like, him and McCaffrey were, you can make an argument for him being the #1 pick in fantasy. God, how that has fallen. Jane Daniels, 10 rushes, 44 yards. Jane Daniels, it seems like one issue he has is he just looks to run too quickly rather than scan the field for receivers. It's something I've noticed, but Commanders' offense looked pretty good in this one. Their defense does not look very good. Obviously, the Giants had an absolutely miserable offensive game week 1. They had a pretty good offense showing this one. Malik Neighbors, pretty good game. See 10 for 127. I think he had like 5 or 6 catches for 55 yards week 1. So he's off to a really good start, even though he had that bad drop. Picked Wan'Dale Robinson up off of waivers because I have Hollywood Brown on one of my teams. That's a pretty good waiver pickup, I think. He was on my bench, so of course he scored a touchdown, though. But yeah, this game, Giants really should have had this one. So yeah, not off to a good start with my picks this week. 0 of 4 so far. Thank God, this game I got right. Chargers looking pretty good, pretty good. Panthers, oh God, absolute just disaster so far for them this season. They put up 10 points week 1, lost by 37, and then they put up 3, lost by 23. And the Chargers were they should have put up more. I think they had two. Herbert had that fumble when they were about to score, and then they had a Herbert threw a pick. So the Chargers should have put up more points than even this, even 26. I mean, obviously Chargers outplayed them pretty thoroughly. This is I like Jim Harbaugh. One thing I like about him is that teams like this, he does not often fall into the trap team category. He, a shitty team like the Panthers, probably the worst team in the league, the worst team in the league, at least so far, this through 2 weeks this year. On the road, you take care of business, blow them out just like you're supposed to. This was like Brandon Staley led team. May like the Panthers probably would have been neck and neck with them in this game. Um, Dobbins, he's looking good this year. 17 carries for 131 yards, a touchdown. Herbert, okay game. Quentin Johnson had two touchdowns in this one. It's good that he had a miserable year last year, so good to see him getting it going. Chargers going to get more in the pass game though, but they're looking good in the run game. Um, pretty much outside of Quentin Johnson, they didn't really have much receiving. Bryce Young, obviously that's the story. You got benched yesterday for Andy Dalton, just a miserable game again. Andy Dalton, I'll talk about more in my week 3 picks video, but I actually think Dalton, the service born, is a pretty good fit with the Panthers here. Just a disaster for the Panthers, though. I picked the Chargers in my survivor poll this week, so thank you, Chargers, for saving me there. Pretty good showing from the Chargers. Really good defense, Jesse Minter. I'm not a big college football guy, but I liked his defense in Michigan, so I'm glad that he's getting it together with the Chargers. Yep, here's another game I couldn't have been more wrong about. I was very confident, maybe not very confident, I was like fairly confident with the Cowboys in this one. Obviously, that couldn't have fired or backfired more than it did. Saints, I don't know what the hell is going on with the Saints offense, but Clint Kubiak has something going. I liked Clint Kubiak when he called the plays of the Vikings in 2021. I so yeah, I'm not. I figured the Saints offense would be pretty good this year, but not obviously not as good as they have been. They put up 47 and then they put up 44. That's absolutely insane for 2 weeks. And then it's one thing to do against the Panthers, who have been an absolute mess this year, but it's another thing to do against the Cowboys in Dallas with their defense coming off of a fantastic showing against Cleveland week 1. Mike Zimmer's getting all that hype, and then he allows 44 to the Saints. Just a really efficient, clean game for the Saints offensively. They stalled out in the second half, but that's kind of expected after putting up 35 in the first half. Um, Cowboys offense, like okay in this, they pretty much have no run game. That's the issue so far. Like, let me see their run game here. Yeah, like Rico Dowdle's can't talk. Their leading running back with 30 yards. That's a problem. If your leading running back is 30 rushing yards. Passing, they did okay. That's a pretty okay stat line for Dak. The 2 picks, kind of ugly interceptions too, where they could have scored there. Even late in the game, they were down 20, I think it was I forget they were down 20 something late in the fourth, and they were in the end zone. They could have scored, cut it to somewhere in the teens, and then their defense forced a punt after that. I think Carr threw a pick. So that's one thing with the Cowboys. When it looks like they're down big late, they have these late pushes to make it a game. So if you cut it to 16 with most of the or somewhere in the teens, or a good amount of the fourth quarter left, that's definitely a winnable game. But yeah, the 2 turnovers kind of screwed them over with Dak there. Not a great, obviously, no run game. Just not a great overall game for the Cowboys. Saints just thoroughly outplayed them. Yeah, I mean, if you just look at this, that pretty much skies the game pretty well. I think the Cowboys will be fine, but I'm just really impressed and surprised by the Saints. Do I think they can continue to put up around 40 plus points every week? No, but I think their offense has the ability to put up around 20, or I think their offense for the season, not including these two games, is definitely capable of scoring in the high 20s every week. They have a lot of weapons. They've kind of always had a lot of weapons, especially since Sean Payton left the past 2 years. They've just been very up and down offense with Pete Carmichael calling the plays. But obviously, Clint Kubiak is an excellent fit with them. They're setting like records the first 2 weeks. The like first like 15 Derek Carr led drives of the season. They score. That's insane. But just really impressive showing for the Saints in this one. What is next? Where? Oh, here I am. This game. I made a bold. Oh, come on, dude. Please load here. Okay, there we go. I made a bold prediction in this one for my week 2 predictions that this game is probably going to be the first one to end in the afternoon. A lot of running clock. I think it actually was. I want to say the second game. I forget exactly which game ended before this one, but I want to say this was the second game to end. But this game was at halftime very quickly. And why is that? Because Josh Jacobs got 32 carries. That is that's absolutely insane. Obviously, running it, that's going to chew the clock down. So the first half flew by. Really good showing from the Packers defense in this game. Richardson did not look good at all. He had 3 picks. That's not obviously not good. Just his stat 17 and 34, 204 and a touchdown, 3 picks. It doesn't I think he played a lot worse than this stat line shows right here. Jonathan Taylor should have got more carries. Really weird game from Shane Steichen from a play calling perspective. They were within a reasonable margin the entire game, and they just were too pass heavy, it felt like. Jonathan Taylor was getting it going, and they just a lot of yards per carry, and they just did not run it as much as they should have. I don't think they did. And Malik Willis, obviously game manager in this one, a lot of short passing. 12-14, a buck 22 and a touchdown. He did have a nice touchdown. Who scored the touchdown? I forget who. It was on the sideline. They broke a tackle. Who scored it? Yeah, Wicks. That was a pretty good. Dobbs had a couple of nice catches in this one. Matt LaFleur, big fan of Matt LaFleur. Love his play calling, his offensive scheme. Really good head coach. Really good, well called game for him in this one. Playing to Malik Willis's strengths, getting him out running, scrambling. They scrambled did Malik have? Yeah, 6 for 41. That's a pretty good rushing game for him. 2 for a buck 51 is insane for Jacobs there. 32 carries. Oh my God. Um, yeah, not a very good game for the Colts. They just got absolutely gashed in the run game. They didn't score until the third quarter. Then they scored with just under 2 minutes left. They got that touchdown. Then they got in Hail Mary range. It was short. So yeah, really good game from the Packers defense. I think Packers defense could have a really good year. Xavier McKinney, 2 picks in 2 games. That's good. Really good game from the Packers overall. I'm impressed with them. Love might be back as soon as this week, so that'll be interesting. But yeah, I'm rooting for the Packers this year. I really like what they have down there in Green Bay. Um, Moving on. Oh my God, this game. So I picked the Jags in this game, and boy, did they look like shit offensively for most of this game. Browns offense played a little. Well, they did. They played better. Had a nice opening drive there. Watson played a little bit better. Pretty okay. A fairly efficient game from him. Ford, some nice carries. Cooper, really, he screwed me over. Needed him to catch. He only caught 3 passes for 11 yards. He had a big drop, too. Um, yeah, not a, not a great game from they actually outgained the Browns with their yards here. now I'm looking at this. I don't know how just looking at this, it's like, how did the Jags lose this game? Lawrence, he had a, they turned it, I'm trying to think. Did they turn it over? I feel like they had a bad turnover. Um, no, they did not. I'm trying to think. I could have sworn they had a turnover somewhere. I thought Lawrence threw a pick, but I guess not. Um, Jags pretty much did very little offensively. They made a late push late in the game. They were down 13. I think it was 16 to 3. They scored, and then they had a nice long drive backed up at the goal line. Kirk scored a touchdown. They would have kicked the extra point. They would have had the lead, but then they called a is it a legal man downfield or legal formation, something on the Jags that overturned the Kirk touchdown, probably because he was on one of my fantasy teams. He's another one that screwed me over this year in fantasy. Jags had a chance to win the game late, and Lawrence took a really bad safety. You cannot take that safety. That was just bad. And then even with that, they showed a chance. He's thrown into the end zone with a chance to win the game at the end there. But good game from the Browns defense. Good showing from them. Uh, their offense looked better. Watts kind of slowed out in the second half. That can't talk. Bootleg they had that was an incomplete pass thing in the game. That was not good. Watch, she should have just taken the sack, take more time off the clock because your punter's gonna be able to get it down a couple extra yards. That wouldn't have really mattered. But Jags are just kind of a mess so far this year. They played good week one, then after that ETN fumble, they just like fell off a cliff the rest of this season so far. It's kind of a weird game in this one. Pick the Jags. Kind of obviously regret that now, but yeah, weird game that one was. This game, Jets Titans. This was an interesting game. The Jets did not look good for first half of this game mostly. Titans, I think they were up 10-0, then the Jets scored a touchdown. Or no, I think it was 7-7. Titans kicked the field goal. They were up at the half. So yeah. No, I remember what happened. Titans were up 7-0. They were about to score in the end zone. Then Will Levis again had a boneheaded turnover. That was just bad. Brian Callahan got on him for it, ripped him in the presser for it, post game press conference, which I mean, that good. I mean, that's a boneheaded turnover. Will Levis, he admitted that he liked Brian Callahan calling him out for it. He knows it was bad. That's two back-to-back weeks. Will Levis has changed the game with a bad turnover. Rodgers looked good. He looked like classic Aaron Rodgers. Well, not classic Aaron Rodgers. He looks like more like Aaron Rodgers in this game. He had a couple nice zingers in there, a couple deep passes, lob passes. Their offense was clicking in gear as the game progressed, especially in the second half there. Their run game, pretty good run game from them there. Hall and Braylon Allen had pretty good rushing games. Braylon Allen, I want to say he's only like 20 years old. Let me see. Yeah, he's 20. So I'm 2 years older than Braylon Allen. Oh my God, that makes me feel old. He had a nice rush to give them a touchdown in the fourth quarter. The Titans are 0-2, and they definitely should have beaten the Bears week one, and then they probably should have won this game. Oh, that's another thing. Their special teams unit, that's 2 punt blocks that they've allowed, and one of them was for a touchdown last week against the Bears. So the Titans are kind of just beating themselves on fundamentals the first 2 weeks. As much as what happened in this game went wrong for them, they had a chance to tie the game late in the Will Levis. They had a nice drive at the end of the game. Levis took a third and goal sack, then fourth and goal. It was an incomplete pass. Would have been short of the goal line anyway, but Jets defense played better as this game progressed. Titans offense started off hot, kind of cooled down second half there. I mean, you just look at this. It's like, how the hell did the Titans lose this game? Again, special teams and that bad Will Levis turnover, I think, are the two main reasons they lost this game. I watched the Goat House on YouTube, really good NFL content creators. I love those guys. I have watched them for years and years. I love those guys so much. One of the guys on there is a Titans fan, and he talked about there was a stat that the Titans, the first team in NFL history, I forget since what year, I want to say like the 90s or something, to lead the league in defensive yards per game. So they allow the least defensive yards per game and start out 0-2. That's just, they should be 2-0, and I feel bad. They're a sleeper team. I feel bad for them. They really should be 2-0 and they're 0-2. That just sucks for them. But Jets picked it up. So good for them. Hopefully they get in a, well, not hopefully. I don't like the Jets, but they're in my division. But I think the Jets, they can play like they did in the second half the rest of the year. I think the Jets going to get better as the year goes on. Rodgers gets more healthy, back into football form. They'll be fine. I think they'll be one of the elite teams. I actually have them winning the division, unfortunately. Um, God, this is I had such an awful, miserable week with picks, betting, fantasy, just an absolute disaster for me this week. This game, oh my God. Oh boy. So the Buck, I was very confident with the Lions. The Bucks were all beat up. Winfield, Hall, they lost Vita Vea during this game. They were beat to hell. And the Lions, I don't know, their offense is just something is not right with their offense the first 2 weeks. They struggled against the Rams a good majority of the game, and then the Rams defense looked like absolute shit against the Cardinals. Um, so I think that might be a telling sign right there. It's just something is just not their offense is obviously something's not right. They're missing a step compared to last year. It seems like they're able to move the ball well, but I don't know, they just can't punch in the end zone or score for some reason. I mean, just look at these stats. How did the Lions possibly lose this game? They had almost double the yardage. Actually, they did. They had more than double the yardage. They had more than double the passing yards. 1 yard short of double the rushing yards. They had more yards per play, more first downs. Like how the hell they had a better third down efficiency, fourth down efficiency. Like how the hell? Well, they didn't go for and fourth down the box, but how the hell they had almost doubled their plays? Like how the hell did they lose this game? Penalties were not yardage wise, but they both did 4 penalties. They're even there. I don't know how the hell they lost this game. Like Goff had his 2 picks he threw were pretty bad. Not those were bad picks. Um, Baker looked pretty good in this. If you just look at his stat line, it doesn't look like he had a great game. He had a couple good rushes. How many rushing yards did he have? Oops. Rushing. Yeah, he's their leading rusher. He had a really nice touchdown run. Um, Rashad White, 10 for 18. He screwed me over this week, fantasy. Bucky Irving looks pretty good the first 2 weeks, though. Um, yeah, Baker had a good game. Godwin, he went to Godwin a lot in this one. Pretty good, not pretty good, fairly decent offensive game from them. And just as good as the Bucs defense is, I keep talking about they were beat to hell. They lost Vita Vea in the middle of the game, and they should have just pounded Gibbs, pounded Montgomery, and they attempted 55 passes with Goff. That they should have had a lot more carries between these two guys. Um, just not. I don't know how the hell they lost this game, especially at the end there. I figured that's the Lions are really clutch team offensively. When they need a score, it's do or die. They seem to have done it the past 2 seasons, or well, last season, and then obviously the Rams game week 1 they did it. But they had the chance to take the lead at the end of the game there, and they it was incomplete. That they had all 3 of the timeouts, and they turned over on downs. They had all 3 of the timeouts. The Bucs had to punt to them. I'm like, yep, the Lions are actually going to steal this game. The Bucs going to blow it, and the Lions they couldn't get in. They couldn't get in. They also had a horrible end of first half scenes where they were trying to clock the ball, spike the ball, and they had the field goal unit running on. There was people running on and off the field. There was just too many guys on the field, so it was a 10-second runoff. So instead of getting a chip shot field goal, they had to settle for nothing because it was a 10-second runoff. So that's 3 points they missed out on there. That definitely bit them in the ass because, again, it would have played out differently. It's a what if, but they would have been at 19 points and they could have kicked the field goal at the end of the game. Their defense played really well in the second half. They only allowed 7 points the second half to the Bucs. They shut them out in the fourth quarter. The Lions should have won this game. This was a game they really should have won. Just not a very, I don't know, just a really weird game. They're off something's just off with the offense. They're good for the Bucs. They beat the hell. They're 2-0. Play the Broncos this week, so that should be 3-0 for them. Um, oh, this game, oh my God, dude. Another game I got wrong. What a surprise. Very confident in the Ravens in this one. And they were outplaying it. It was neck and neck. It was tied, or the Ravens were up 3 at half. Really good defensive game. And then the second half, the Ravens pulled away. They had a 10-point lead, and they blew it. They blew it. The Raiders scored 20 in the second half. They scored 13 in the fourth quarter. Just not a, I don't know what happened, but they blew the game. They blew the game. It seems like the Ravens are passing it a lot more than they were last year. Obviously, a big part of that there is their offensive line has not been good this year. Raiders defense, I really like the Raiders defense. I liked it last year. Like Patrick Graham as a defensive coordinator. They got a lot of weapons defensively, play really good defensively for the most part. Um, Chris Broussard on First Things First brought up a good point about how they need to mix it up with substituting Henry and not J.K. Dobbins. Why am I completely blanking? Yes, Justice Hill. There we go. I don't know why I kept blanking on his name. They need to mix it up between them because as soon as Henry's in the game, you know it's a run. As soon as Hill's in the game, you know it's a pass most likely. So they need to mix it up between those two. Henry 18 for 84 yards. That actually is a better game than I thought he did have a nice touchdown run. Lamar 45 rush yards. You know, typical Lamar. Usually gets more than that actually, but they pass a lot with Zay Flowers. Really, he's been super consistent since he got drafted receiving. Mark Andrews got more involved, thank God. Isaiah Likely kind of fell back down to earth after his week 1 game. Yeah, Minshew, second year in a row, he's gone into Baltimore and upset the Ravens with a inferior team that they shouldn't have beaten the Ravens. So good for them. So the Ravens, I mean, sorry, the Raiders are really struggling to run game. Like nothing in the run game. Adams, really good game. Brock Bowers, I've left him on my fantasy bench both weeks. I've had to start Kelsey over him, and then I should have Njoku over in week 1. So I'm starting Bowers this week. I'm benching Kelsey. I'm sure Kelsey will go off, score 30 points now that he's on my bench. But really, really nice comeback by the Raiders. I cannot believe the Ravens are 0-2, and they play Dallas this week in Dallas, so a very good chance they go 0-3. But I can't believe the Raiders won this game. I don't know how the hell they came back in this one. That was an insane comeback. 27 rush yards, 151. That's insane. Ravens really blew this one. That's been a problem for them over the years. They've blown games late when they had double-digit leads, outplay their opponent. They just blow it late. Rams Cardinals, what a absolute disaster for the Rams. Talking about injuries, they are beat the hell absolutely everywhere, and I feel really bad for them because they should have. If they're healthy, I think they're definitely a playoff team, but they're just beat the hell everywhere. Cardinals, I think, are a sweeper team, really respectable team, really good week 1 performance. They almost upset the Bills in Buffalo. Obviously, Kyler, I'm pretty sure he had a perfect passer rating this game. Marvin Harrison Jr. got a lot of slander. He went off the first quarter. It seems like he was the greatest receiver in the history of the NFL. James Conner, really efficient game. Really good offensive game from the Cardinals. Obviously, you put up 41. They should have probably put up more, but they had a fumble late in the game. Kyler looked absolutely excellent. Probably his best game as a pro. Stafford, I think, had a serviceable well, actually, just looking at this, his stats alone, he had a pretty solid game. Obviously, he only put up 10, so not ideal. But just passing, he did okay. Rushing, they pretty much had nothing. Yeah, the receivers, they're just Cup's on IR now. They're just banged. Their offensive line, they're just absolutely beat to hell everywhere. Puka, oh God, yeah. James Conner, really good rush game. Kyler, great rush game. Um, Martin Harrison Jr., great rush game. Rams defense looked good week one, just looked abysmal this game. Just Cardinals could be a dark horse this year. Rams just need to get healthy. They have an early bye, so that's good for them. They can utilize that to get their team healthy, but just not a obviously not a good game from the Rams in this one. Just abysmal. Did not get anything go. They even forced a fumble late. The game was over anyway. But they forced a fumble late, and Trey McBride scored recovered it in the end zone for a touchdown. So that describes this game pretty well. Oof. Cardinals sleeper team this year. Ugh. God, this game. So, if you guys don't know, I hate, hate the Chiefs, hate Mahomes. This team and Mahomes, they actually infuriate me. So, and I like the Bengals. I like Joe Burrow. So, I was beyond fuming at this game. The Bengals outplayed them. They outplayed them this entire game. I mean, just look at this. Besides rush yards, they had more yards, they had more passing yards. They had, well, Chiefs actually had more first downs. They were 1 of 8 on third down. Bengals fourth, not great either, but better. They had only two more plays, but they this is the big difference, the penalties. Obviously, the end of the game there, that PI call, that was, oh my God, that the Chiefs got bailed out on that one completely. Was it PI? Probably, but if that is any team except the Chiefs and Mahomes, I don't think they're getting that flag thrown. That's the problem I have is any team not the Chiefs, that flag is not getting thrown. End of the game, pretty much a Hail Mary there. Yes, it was 1-on-1. I think Rice was the receiver, but it's pretty much a Hail Mary. And Mahomes flicks it up and just gets bailed out with that flag. Bengals were in control most of this game. Really efficient offensive game from them. I really like their offensive scheme. A lot of short passing. Mike Gesicki had a really good game in this one. I didn't even see it. He was their leading receiver, 91 yards. Chase quiet in this one, had that costly penalty late. He's another guy that screwed me over in fantasy so far this year. Not a good game from Mahomes. Had two picks. Well, he had a pick that, what a surprise, gets overturned via penalty, most in the league. He already has more than Tom Brady has in Tom Brady's entire career. And Mahomes has been in the league starting, what, 6 years? Just so ridiculous. And he had a pick overturned via questionable penalty, and thank God threw an even worse one with probably the catch of the year so far with Cam Taylor-Britt intercepting that pass there. What else? I was gonna say something else about this game and I forget. Um, oh yes, Bengals my Super Bowl pick was not obviously confident about that after week one. This game makes me much more confident. I really hope these two teams match up in the playoffs. Bengals just have their number, it seems like. I mean, they should have beaten them in this game. They were up 10 on them last year with Jake Browning at quarterback. The AFC title game was the only time Mahomes has beaten Burrow besides this game, which, again, he shouldn't have beaten Burrow in this game. And the AFC title game, the Bengals just kind of just not play a very good game. And it still came down to a lucky penalty with shoving Mahomes out of bounds, get the field goal there. So, yeah, walk-off field goal for the Chiefs there. And the Bengals did not, it seems like, played a very good game in that one. Bengals just seem to have their number. They play the Chiefs very well. Hope these teams match up in the playoffs. My preseason predictions, I had this exact scenario as an AFC championship game, except I had the Bengals as the 1 seed, actually. That's probably not going to happen, unfortunately. So I had Kansas City at Bengals, had the Bengals winning. I just pray to God that the Chiefs get knocked out. I cannot stand them. Cannot stand that. Very lucky win by the Chiefs. Their defense played pretty well that the fumble there at the end of the game, they scoop and scored. That was clutch, obviously. But yeah, they should not. They got outplayed, and that seems like the consensus across the media I've watched too. I'm like, I'm glad I'm not the only one that realizes they got outplayed. They got very lucky to win this one. Even Nick Wright, the biggest Chiefs fan on the planet, probably said Mahomes probably had the worst game of his career in this one. Very, very lucky for them to win this game. And week one, they get very lucky that Isaiah Likely was like inches away from being in the end zone. The Ravens would have gone for two there. Maybe they would have stopped them, but Ravens very well could have won that game. And Tucker missed a field goal in that one. So if Likely scores that touchdown and Tucker kicks that field goal, I know it's a what if scenario. Might have played out differently because Tucker, that field goal miss was way earlier in the game, but they would have won the game had Tucker made the field goal and Likely gets that touchdown, or if Lamar hits Flowers wide open. So the Chiefs are 2-0. They have not, to me, not looked very good in their 2-0. And yes, I hate the Chiefs, but they've just not what they don't look like a typical Chiefs team, even though they're 2-0. Very flawed and lucky, very lucky to be 2-0. It's my takeaway. Steelers Broncos. This was pretty much the exact game I expected. As much as I got wrong, this game went pretty similar to how I thought it would. Very low scoring defensive game, a lot of running the clock, a lot of short passing by the Broncos. Broncos made a late push. The one positive about the Broncos offense this season is that it seems like it's only two games, but when you need to score, you got no huddle offense. They seem to move the ball pretty well down the field. That is the one good thing. Pickens had a really good game. He had a touchdown overturned by a penalty that shouldn't have been a penalty. Gene Steratore came in and said it shouldn't have been a penalty. And then he also would have Justin Fields probably the best throw of his career to Pickens down the sideline. It got overturned by penalty. But Denver's defense, pretty solid showing. Steelers defense, obviously really good showing. They've only allowed 16 points through 2 weeks, so that's obviously a winning formula. Broncos outgained them in yards and passing yards. He was in more rush yards. This is an Arthur Smith game. A lot of short passing, running the clock out. Yeah, typical Steelers game, defensive game, short passing, running the clock out, kind of an ugly win. But very questionable move by Sean Payton to kick deep there instead of go onside. Yes, it's very difficult to get an onside kick, obviously, but you have one timeout and you're kicking it deep with under 2 minutes left in the game. Like, what? You're just assuming the best scenario. Obviously, you knew the Steelers was going to go run, 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 most likely to keep the clock going, especially when you only have one timeout. But best case scenario is you get the ball back exactly where you did with around 20, maybe even less seconds left in your own territory, probably around like the 20-ish yard line. I mean that they should have just went onside. That was just not a smart decision by Sean Payton there. He's getting ripped for it. They would have lost the game anyway, almost certainly. But yeah, I expected defensive low scoring game in this one. Obviously the Steelers even's better than Broncos, but Broncos get a respectable defense. Steelers offense is meh. Broncos defense is respectable. So I expected how that game played out. I was able to get that one right at least. Bears Texans was a really weird game. The Texans outplayed the Bears by a landslide in this one. I mean, you just look at this. They outplayed. I mean, the Bears averaged 3 yards per play. That's a problem. Texans outplayed them, and it's only a 6-point win. Why? Penalties. Where are we? Yep, 12 for 115. That's a really, really undisciplined game from the Texans there from a penalty standpoint. Obviously, the Bears not very good clean game either. 9 for 60. I saw that the third quarter in real time is like 57 minutes or something. Like, oh my God. This game went on friggin' forever. I was exhausted. Texans offense looked not as efficient as week one, but they look pretty good. Nico Collins is a tank. He looks like arguably the best receiver in football week to the first 2 weeks. Bears offense not a very good showing. I get better than week one, but their opening drive was okay. But their offensive line is a mess. They got to figure that out. How many times did Caleb Williams get sacked here? I'm sorry. Yeah, 7 times. That's the problem. Bears defense played really well. Really, I'm really high in the Bears. I was high on the Bears going into the year. I'm not as high this year. It's only 2 weeks. I'm still just as high on their defense, though. That is a really good defense they have with Eberflus in Chicago there. Particularly the second half. Obviously, they shut out the Titans last week, and then they only allowed 3 points in the second half here. But Stroud played good. Collins played good. Texans offense was pretty good overall. Pretty efficient game from Stroud. They didn't really have much rushing. That was a problem for them. Collins is a tank. Um, Caleb Williams, not a very good game. Had 2 bad picks. Shane Waldron getting a lot of heat. Not a lot of good offensive play calling. They are really struggling to run the ball here. 14 for 18 yards is a problem for Swift. When your quarterback is your leading rusher, that's typically a problem. Moore had a good game, though. Yeah, really good Chicago defense, really good Houston defense. Caleb Williams didn't look good. Texans offense was good. That was pretty much this game summed up in, sloppy penalties. Texans outplayed them by a mile, though. The fact that the Bears had a chance for a game-winning drive at the end of the game was insane. So they got outplayed by the Texans in this one. And then the last game, Monday night game, Falcons Eagles. I can actually not believe how badly the Eagles blew this game. Falcons offense looked a lot better than I was expecting. Had a lot of good rushes. Kirk Cousins looked back, a lot better than he did week one. The only problem I had was and obviously they won the game, so it doesn't really matter. But it seems like most of Kirk Cousins' passes were play action. Like most of his passes were just play action passes, like off of bootleg, and not bootlegs, but it seemed like you knew they were passing, like they weren't running, and they were doing play action passes. Um, Obviously it worked out for them most of the time. He had a couple standard, shotgun standard passes. Had a really nice touchdown pass to Mooney, third down. Really efficient game from the Falcons. Really good runs here. The Falcons had Bijan looked good, Algier looked good. That's a killer 1-2 punch combo. Pitt screwed me over in fantasy this week. Oh my god. Falcons defense looks really good for the first 2 weeks of the year so far. Good to see Kirk Cousins. That game-winning drive was absolutely insane. As soon as the Eagles Saquon dropped that, I'm like, oh boy. And then the Falcons, that first was to Pitts, and then after that, I'm like, yep, they're gonna drive straight down the field. This is gonna be a choke job. Eagles. I have never been sold on Hurts as a pure passer, and again, his rookie year, I know the Eagles were a disaster in 2020, but he had a 50-something% completion percentage. That's obviously abysmal as a starter. His second year, I want to say it was low 60s, so that's an improvement. That's serviceable for a starting quarterback. But what really Hurts took off as the passers when they got AJ Brown, which I don't mean to go on a rant here, but when you get the trend is to get your young starting quarterback and elite receiver like Hurts, AJ Brown, Tua with Hill and Waddle, and then you have Allen with Diggs, and Mac Jones gets no one in his second year. He has Devontae Parker as his top receiver. He loses Josh McDaniels, and we have Matt Patricia and Joe Judge running the offense. So that's that. Matt Jones, I think his career was completely sabotaged in New England. Was Mac Jones good in 2022 and 2023? Obviously, more so in 2023, he was not good, but I think I don't know. Just we did not do Mac a lot of favors to help him with the receiving core and his weapons. Anyway, didn't want to go on a rant there, but Hurts not sold him as a passer, as I was just talking about. Had a chance. Is my problem is if Hurts has to pass to win the game, it seems like he's come up short. Uh, Obviously this game, and then in Seattle last year, had to pass to win the game through a bad pick. Um, this game, as badly as they folded with that Saquon drop, the Falcons go down the field score. They just needed a field goal to win the game, and Elliott has a strong leg, so you don't even need to get them any yards. His first pass, Goddard completed. I want to say they were on the 40-yard line, so you only need around 25 yards in that range to get in realistic field goal range. They hit around I want to say 20 something seconds left in the game. They had two timeouts, I think, so very manageable. And what happens? Hurts throws a pass and in double coverage and it's picked off. Well, it was kind of one-on-one, and then Bates, the safety, came in out of nowhere, but just not a great pass. Hurts passing week 1 did not look good. He had a two bad picks. He had a bad pick in this one. He did have a really good rushing game, though. Um, yeah, Eagles off. I think Kellen Moore's getting a lot of heat for that play call, but I mean, it worked. It worked earlier in the game for the what should have been a Saquon touchdown. It's the same exact thing. The play action, the halfback sprints out to the flat was I know it was the same play, but it was the same motion, same action pretty much. And Saquon catches it, they win the game. They just have to kneel it. And as soon as that happened, I'm like, oh boy. But then when the Falcons scored, I thought they may have left too much time, and then Hurts threw that pick. Obviously, that was the game from there. DeVonta Smith had a good game in this one. Outside of that, they didn't really have much receiving. Missing AJ Brown has hurt them in this one. It's going to hurt them. I think he's supposed to be out a couple weeks. Um, what else about this game? Yeah, Eagles were in control most of this game. And the Falcons had the lead late in the third quarter after that Mooney touchdown, but then the Eagles, the fourth quarter, after that touchdown and the tush push, I figured that, and then especially when they stopped the Falcons on fourth one, I figured that was probably the game. Nick Sirianni, he's getting a lot of heat, especially going into the year with how badly they collapsed the end of last year. That decision in the first quarter to go for it on 4th and 4 instead of kicking a chip shot field goal when it was 0-0. That backfired very significantly. And again, another what if game could have played out differently in a million different ways, but they lost by 1, and instead of taking 3 free points, they got 0, and they lost by 1. So that obviously bit them in the ass. They should have won the game anyway, but I would have just ran the ball at the end there, just guaranteed the clock running out. Even so, kick that field goal. They would have been up, what, 6? Let me do some math here. So yeah. Um, yeah, because it was 15 to, yeah, okay, yeah. But, trying to think what else from this game. Or no, sorry. No, they were up 6, and then I'm just trying to remember what happened. No, they were up 3. They were up 3, and then they obviously get the field goal to go up 6. So yeah, I would have just ran the ball, even if it's short. You go up 6 with a minute left, make the Falcons drive down the field instead of a minute 40. But yeah, really impressive comeback from the Falcons in this one. Kirk Cousins look good. They have a big game against the Chiefs. Eagles play the Saints, so that's in New Orleans. That's not a great matchup for them with the Saints playing as good as they are. No AJ Brown. Complete collapse by the Eagles. This game made me very fortunate. I'm not an Eagles fan, and my team didn't lose in that fashion. I was so pissed off and so sick we lost against the Seahawks. If we had lost in the fashion the Eagles did, I don't even know how pissed off I would have been. They had a 90. I've seen a bunch of different analytics, and it ranged from like 95, like 98% chance of them winning the game at the end there. They blew it. God, I would have just been absolutely sick. But yeah, I think I got all these games. Anything else? Yeah, I think I covered them all. big week 3 for my team tonight against the Jets in at MetLife there. Really hope we can pull off the upset. But I absolutely disastrous week 2 for me. Probably I think I had one week where it's just upset after upset, really weird week. I forget exactly when. It might have been last year. I went like 3-13 in my picks. Oh my God, that was a disaster. But I lost so much betting money that I've accumulated over months and months from this past week. So that really pissed me off. My picks, I went 6-10. My team lost. My upset picks that should have won, they lost. The Chiefs won. Just, oh my God, just a miserable week. Very happy to turn the page forward to week 3 again with my team. Starting off the week, prime time. Can watch my team in prime time. Super excited for that. But yeah, very disastrous week of football for me. But love football, so entertaining nonetheless. But yeah, I'll wrap the video up here. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed the video. And I will be uploading my week 3 picks soon here in the coming days, probably on Saturday. So be on the lookout for that. Hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you for watching. Take it easy and go Pats tonight. Hopefully we can pull off the dub. Take it easy, guys.